Bridge with Kira is sponsored by the original Done Right Buffalo Wing Sauce. If you're looking for something spicy and different, look no further. The original Done Right Buffalo Wing Sauce is all you'll need. It's good on everything. Homemade goodness from Riverview, New Brunswick. Shipping's available, so check them out. www.dunrightbuffalowingsauce.com. Hi everyone, welcome to The Bridge. I'm your host, Kira Young, and you've reached me on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. We are also simulcasting tonight with Real Liberty Media, and it is the 4th of June, 2016. 4 in the afternoon where I'm at, right where the Blue Ridge Mountains, the Alleghenies, and the Appalachians all meet up in Virginia on the border of West Virginia. And it's another beautiful rainy day. What's going on today? Well, planting, and eating weeds. I'm kind of into it. I stopped fighting all of these weeds and I just let them grow, and then when I pull them to try to put other things in, I try to eat as much of them as I can, because they really do have everything that we're lacking in our modern diet that gives us autoimmune disease. It's true. It's true indeed. So tonight we have a really good show planned for you. Vincent Easley, are you there? He's going to be my assistant producer and riding shotgun tonight. Mr. Vincent Easley.
Yeah, I'm here, but I've got a player going too with the speaker, so
okay.
I'll be back up.
All right. So if anybody wants to get in on anything, I can't be in the chat because I'm broadcasting and simulcasting from a little laptop in my truck, so I can't get in the chats too. So that's what Vince is going to be doing for us tonight. Plus, he'll have his smart-ass remarks from time to time coming in. And this will be the last time that he's riding shotgun for a while, because he's going on a little journey away from the internet for a while. So hopefully we'll be able to show him a good time tonight before he takes off on his journey. I did want to tell you, Vince, that yesterday I was walking the dogs in the rain, and it started raining really, really, really super hard. And I got under this tree, and this song came to me, and so I made 3 little recordings of this melody that came to me on my phone, and I got progressively closer to the creek as I made these recordings, and I've been playing with them. I imported them into Audacity, and I've been playing with them to make them a song, for your trip and for your go away journey. And I had this, for lack of a better word, like a vision of you, and you were basically doing a ceremony for the water, to stay pure, the water as the source of all life. So that was, in the song that I'm working on. I'm going to try to put it in this podcast when I get it. It's called Water Walker, and it's for you. So I wanted to play it tonight, but I don't want to rush it because it was not done yet. So there's that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I'm really excited for you and what you're doing. It's going to be really good for you.
Yeah, it is kind of like a purification in a way, just getting away from all the external influence. And I love going out and spending time out in nature. And it's awesome. It's kind of like a little simulated bug out. It's just kind of going to do little improvisations along the way. So, and shoot some video. I'll be back in a week or two, and I'll have the video up on YouTube. I did go down yesterday. I made an exploratory trip down to where I'll set in, and I'll grab those here as we go along here and chat, and I'll drop them off for the listeners to check it out and see the river. So I'll be floating in about 10 miles down to town to Shirley, Arkansas, on the Little Red River, and it's going to be a blast.
Awesome. Well, without further ado, I would like to welcome our special guest tonight, Mike BlueHair. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Woohoo! Thanks for joining us. And, you have a different type of schedule because you're up all night filming cops. So this is your morning.
This is my morning. I'm out on Friday and Saturday nights hunting with my camera. So yeah, I mean, it's really good to be here. I always love being on your show, Kira, and I have to say that I appreciate the diversity of guests you have, because I don't talk about it and I don't tell you, but every so often I, take a listen to your show, and I really like the variety of type of folks you talk to. It's just a really great cross section, and it's not done in a lot of shows. Most shows are kind of, or most podcasts and radio shows are kind of, myopically interested in kind of one topic. And I really appreciate the fact that you have so much diversity.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'm trying to expand myself too. Not just my audience, give my audience the opportunity to sort of expand their understanding of what's going on in this world, but I'm trying to do that for myself at the same time. So, yeah.
So you're bringing your audience along the journey with you. That's great. Great.
So, I always like talking to you too, because you're right in the thick of it. There's a lot going on. And you're from out west, which is a place that I miss very much. So, you bring that sort of West Coast vibe, or Western area vibe out there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've lived out here for a number of years, but my real roots come from North Carolina. That's where I was born, but I've been here more than a decade, so I do have that vibe on me, but I'm originally a Southern boy.
I was born in North Carolina as well.
Oh, nice. It's so beautiful there. My God, I love North Carolina. You have almost every terrain except desert,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Eastern woodland. It's so rich with life and, good things. I do hope to get back. I'm hoping to get down to some powwows that are going on down there.
Oh, there's a lot of really great powwows down there. I mean.
Yeah. But there's a lot of great powwows where you're at too. You were in Seattle for May Day.
Yes, it was.
Seattle's got one of the best powwows in the
really,
world.
I've never gone to one. I haven't gone to a powwow since I was a little boy, but I would go. Yeah, I'm white, but I used to, just really enjoy going because it was an opportunity to see, a little peek at a culture that I don't know anything about. And I was just fascinated by it, like the music, I really like the knives. Like people would have, hand forged, hand handled, knives and stuff like that. And I was way into that when I was a little boy. So I really enjoyed looking at the native art and the stuff that people would make, I remember the tomahawk throwing too. People would set up targets and throw tomahawks, and I just was, totally captivated by that as a child. So,
yeah, it's a great thing for all kids to go to, and a lot of people don't know powwows are for everybody. They're not just for natives. It's like a place where natives want to share their culture with other people. So
oh sure,
definitely go, no matter what.
My mother and I were totally made welcome. I mean, I was treated like all the other kids.
Yep. Come on, and it's a good time for everyone. I've shared this memory of my son. Since we sing at powwows, he grew up around the drum and around powwows. And the first time I took him, I think he was 4 years old. The first time I took him to an Easter egg hunt, and the first thing he said to me was, "Oh, Mommy, it's just like the candy dance." At the powwow. So I was glad he had that orientation towards it. So what was going on in Seattle on May Day?
Sure. May 1st is International Workers' Day, and a lot of people celebrate basically the fights that the unions have had with the corporations since the founding of this country, basically. And most of the time in Seattle, there's two marches. There's a earlier in the day march, which is, very peaceful. It's the larger march. And then at night, there's a mostly anarchist, mostly black bloc, contingent, anti-capitalist march. And it's been, basically renowned for having clashes with the police. Although this year is, according to many of the people that have been following this for years, like myself, this year has been the most militaristic, and the police response on this particular May Day was more brutal, more heavy-handed than anything that's been seen in 20, maybe even as much as 30 years. Basically, the police forced the anti-capitalist march to go north, and what I mean by forced is every block that the march would continue, they would be met by phalanxes of cops on riot gear on two sides of the street, and then the third side of the street would be cops on bicycles throwing crowd control weapons at the crowd, harassing it to force the march to move north out into an industrial area of town. And then they finally, after eight miles of hell, that's what I called it when I was there, after an 8-mile march to an industrial area outside of town, the police surrounded the march, arrested a few people, and by that time it was done. There was a big fight between the anarchists and the cops. I know of at least 8 cops being wounded. I know 6 or 7 protesters were wounded. So what I saw was a fight, I saw the violence honestly originating with the police against people. I mean, the anarchist people were breaking some windows of corporate businesses and whatnot, but the actual violence I saw was started by the police and predicated by them. I saw a lot of a weapon being used called a blast ball, and basically a blast ball is kind of a toned down version of a grenade. It looks just like a grenade you'd see in a movie, except instead of a metal housing, it's a rubber housing with a white stripe on it. And there's a few different kinds of blast balls. One is similar to a flashbang that you would see, in movies where it's inert. It just makes a really bright noise and blinds you, and you can't see. Then there's another version of a blast ball, and they were using all of these that I'm describing at various times throughout this 8 hours of hell. Another version of a blast ball has CS tear gas powder in it that burns in the air, so it makes a bright noise you can't see and you can't breathe. There's another version of the blast ball that they were using that day as well, called a stinger, and it's just like a real hand grenade, except there's no metal shards on the inside. There is these they call them projectiles. They're like a rubberized little BB, and those fly out and penetrate the skin, and it's not very pleasant. So basically the police, like I said, every block that the march would move down, they would be met on two sides of the streets with phalanxes of cops like Roman centurions in black ring wraith outfits. And then the back of the march would be harassed by, guys and girls on bicycles in armor, just constantly throwing these, various versions of these blast ball weapons at, the crowd until they finally, marched 8 miles out of the city, where they were just basically shut down and made to leave. And I'm not sugarcoating this, and I'm not taking sides with the anarchist. I am an anarchist, or the police. I'm just reporting what I saw. And I saw violence on both sides. I saw a cop get hit in the jaw with a rock about the size of my fist. I saw, people throwing batteries at cops. I saw, bottles. There was Molotov cocktails thrown during that march. But I will say that the violence I saw at first, I saw the police using less lethal, pepper spraying people and throwing those blast balls into the crowd before, the people reacted and started fighting back. I did see that, objectively. There were people wounded, by this whole thing that weren't even, protesting. There's a independent journalist by the name of Samuel Levine who's been to one protest in the last decade. He's not a protester. He was standing on the sidewalk, and I was filming opposite him, and this was probably the worst thing that I saw when I was there. Samuel was on there was a 5-lane strip of highway, no, 4-lane strip of highway, leading to a freeway on-ramp by the sports stadium out there. And, the police were doing their harassment thing at the end of the march, where they would throw the blast balls and they would march at the crowd with the bicycles. And they threw one of the blast balls near Samuel, and I catch it in the air. I'm filming it, and my camera tracks the blast ball as it travels in the air, and it lands, I'd say about 2.5 yards away from him, and it blows up. And when I originally edit the video later and put it online, I'm assuming that it was the metal fuse, because it's got a metal fuse at the top that looks just like a hand grenade. You can see when I slowed the video down, you can see a piece of the blast ball flying at him. And in the video commentary, when I, uploaded interpolated what I saw based on what I could see with my eyes, I thought it was the metal, fuse that flew and hit him. But what it was actually was a piece of the rubber housing around the blast ball grenade. It actually flew into Samuel's face. It was I have it on my YouTube channel, a still image of it in the video where I interviewed him later, because I did a 25-minute interview with him about his experience, a few days after I uploaded the video, because he contacted me. He's all, hey, I'm the guy that you filmed, getting wounded. But there was an 1.5 inch long shard of rubber that penetrated Samuel's cheek, and he had to have it surgically removed. So I filmed him go down, and he fell down like a wet noodle, and I ran over and got a close up of that. And then I didn't talk with him until maybe 4 days later after I uploaded the video. And all that stuff's on my YouTube channel. It's called Police Grenade Rips Journalist's Face Open. That's the video of Samuel being wounded. And then there's if you scroll up a little bit further on my channel, Mike BlueHair, you'll find my interview with Samuel. And he's just like your average Joe. He's not an anarchist. He's not a protester. He just went there to document. And I think it's really sad that, a weapon like that is used against someone who's not fighting with the police. There's no need to use that kind of thing. I believe these blast ball things, have the OSHIT factor of it being indiscriminate. You know, that those pieces of shrapnel can fly off and wound people that aren't participating. In fact, there's a indie journalist, I can't place his name now, but he sent me a link to some body camera footage from not this past May Day in Seattle, but the one before that, where a Seattle cop, they were talking on their body camera footage, and they were talking about how one of their fellow cops were wounded, or was wounded himself by a blast ball. It blew off part of his sock and cut his leg. So I think these particular crowd control weapons need to be rethought. I don't think they're safe for officers using them. I don't think they're safe for the protesters as well. Seattle really needs to rethink what weapons they're allowing their municipality to use for crowd control. So that's a little bit about my experiences through May Day. I forgot to mention I was pepper sprayed. I got it right in the mouth. That was unpleasant, but I've been pepper sprayed before, and I've been tear gassed before. It's what I would consider a occupational hazard being a cop watcher. So that's my May Day experiences. Yeah, it was. I was after the 8 hours of or the 8-mile march of hell, I was unsettled. It takes a couple days to put yourself back together after that because of the explosions, because of the blast going off near you. Like, it really gets to you in a primal sort of way.
I can only imagine. And then also seeing the injuries, like such, somebody's cheek getting ripped open and stuff, but that's, yeah. Wow. So, I mean, while you were talking about it, I was speculating, why something so dangerous would be used, and something that they know is going to get people who are documenting as well as people who are participating. Mm-hmm. So it just seems to me that it's something that's meant to discourage those who are documenting as well as those who are participating, if anyone can get injured.
Sure. There's a few classes, I like to call it, of people that police seem to target at very intense protest. They go after, more often than not, the street medics. They go after people with cameras. They go after even corporate media because they want to interrupt their ability to accurately report. Police and the police unions and their buddies in the corporate media want to be able to frame the narrative. I'm not taking a side on who's right or who's wrong. I'm just saying that they have an agenda to frame a narrative, and to disrupt documentation helps and aids in that agenda. Police very much have this us against them mentality. It's us and our just us and not you and yours. And it's part of the culture, that we live in, this police state that we live in my humble opinion. As far as the use of those weapons, I did document them rolling those things at corporate news, like right at their feet. I also documented, them accidentally rolling one of the blast balls at this couple. The boy he had dreadlocks, and the girl, she just had shorter longish straight brown hair, and they were 10 feet in front of the cop that was trying to roll the blast ball at their feet, and it accidentally bounces back into the line of bicycles where the cops are. So yeah, I definitely think there's that agenda, to target certain groups of people like street medics and, alternative journalists. But even the corporate media gets, stuff tossed at them. If you look at what happened in Ferguson, when that Mike Brown thing first blew up, there was numerous corporate media people even arrested, tear gassed, targeted by the police there. And the reason why, I believe, is to, demoralize, shock, and confuse any reporting. That way the narrative can be framed by the public information officers and their friends in the corporate media. Police unions in this country are very powerful. That's basically the in for the police to manipulate the narrative on how a protest happens, or a mass shooting happened, or a officer involved shooting happened. You see, to get elected on a city council in any city in America, you have to have the blessing of stakeholders in that community. That would be, you know, the big property owners and the police union. The police union, the Fraternal Order of Police, is one of the most powerful police unions in the country, although some cities don't have a Fraternal Order of Police. But these police unions wield an incredible amount of power. You're not going to be, you know, city auditor. You're not going to be, you know, the person that's in charge of the parks of a major city. You're not going to be mayor or police commissioner unless you have the blessing of the police union in the municipality that you live in. They command a big section of the power. And here is the mechanism that corporate media allows themselves to be manipulated and allows themselves to toe a narrative that the police want them to. It's very simple. It's giving them access. Okay, if the corporate media plays ball and, you know, allows the police side of the story to be perpetuated, they get greater access. You know, they get a bone thrown at them when there's when there's a press conference, when there's, information to be released by a public information officer for a particular police force. They'll give them greater access. So that is kind of a sort of a way that they're allowed to manipulate things, you know, and if they don't toe a line that the police prefer them to, or slant the story in the favor of law enforcement, they get less access. It's very simple, really.
Yeah, very, very simple. And it would seem to me that they would spend a lot of their time controlling the corporate media, because those are the folks that have the biggest reach in terms of, you know, getting their narrative out there.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you know, the street journalists are going to probably not want to get their narrative out there, because they're out there saying, look, this is what's going on. This is what's actually going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what is it that what do you think gets in the way of people accepting that we're living in a police state?
Well, I think, wow, that's a very good question. Let me think a second here.
Okay.
I think there's multiple reasons. I think until it's going to affect someone's life as an individual in a substantive way, until it happens to your family, until your kid gets pulled out of a car and shot by accident or on purpose, depending on whose side of the story you want to believe, until you have your house raided because the police got the wrong address, and then the police shoot your dog and not apologize for it. In fact, send you a bill because an officer got his hand cut on a door breaking through your house. You know, until it affects people directly, something about U.S. culture doesn't allow them to access empathy. Like the majority of police accountability activists that I know, you can trace their genesis or why they became interested in this subject to an event to where the police hurt them or hurt someone they love. So it's something to do with how we don't have so much empathy for one another as human beings. Like people think that people believe that it's all part of the show, until it affects them. If that makes any sense to you, Kira.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's kind of like, we've been at war my whole life, but the war's not going on here. The bombs aren't being dropped here. So there's this passiveness about it, like, well, and the whole narrative of they're fighting for our freedom over there so they don't have to fight it here. But, the reality is they're fighting for fascism over there, and we're getting it here, but just in a totally different way. It's weird. I think about this question a lot because it does affect everyone, but it doesn't affect everyone in the same way. And for those of us who experience it in a more subtle way and in a more gradual way, it's just changing of the times. It's not, wow, our rights are all gone. Oops. When did that happen?
Yeah. You evoked a few things that I'd like to, respond with, and that's, if you look at the grand scheme of history, you'll see that when a culture is at war, it evolves in more of a militaristic, more of a totalitarian sort of direction. So we've been at war, all but a few years in this country's history, the short history of this nation. There's maybe been six years or something that we haven't been at war with someone. So that takes a toll on a society, So the longer we stay at war, the more countries we invade, the more wars of aggression that we engage in, the more our society will militarize. It's just, it's the rule, not the exception through history. I mean, you can look at any culture you want, and when they're in a time of war, things get more militaristic. The policing becomes more heavy-handed. One of the big problems with weapons, to go back to the blast ball thing in Seattle and crowd control weapons that you would imagine on an urban battlefield instead of belonging in a street where civilians and journalists are mixed up in and protesters are mixed up in with cops, is the industry that surrounds war produces these weapons. And a corporation, it's by its very nature is a sociopathic entity. Corporations are literally legally bound to put the needs of their shareholders' profit margin above environmental concerns, above human concerns, above the liability of possibly being sued for treating their workers poorly. A corporation, by its very nature, is legally set up to put the profit above all other concerns. And like, there's been CEOs of corporations sued by, shareholders because, hey, you put, people's working conditions above our profit margin, and we suffered losses. So, that's just the way corporate law is set up. I mean, the law of business in the world. I mean, if you want to have if you want to tour humanity's darker side, I wouldn't recommend looking at serial killers. I wouldn't recommend looking at, mass murderers or mass shooters. I would recommend looking at politics. I mean, these sure, some guy or girl who tortures someone to death, is a sociopath. Someone who manipulates banking and makes, millions of people homeless, or, someone who, manipulates markets in a way to, fix, the prices of things like, biofuels, which drives up the price of corn, which starves hundreds of millions of African people to death. I mean, that is the dark side of humanity. These people are the real evil of the world. These people that make these decisions that are based on, a profit margin as opposed to humanity or environment or, just logic, sanity, and reason. These are the real, people that perpetuate evil in this world. And these, corporations that are profiting from all the gear that soldiers use over in Iraq and Afghanistan and, all the other, 70 countries that are, currently occupied by U.S. right now. But these corporations that make all this gear, they have a surplus of it, and, they still want to make a profit. So that now they're marketing all this night vision gear and these, assault styled, long rifles, these AR-15s, these, all this, riot gear and these blast balls and flashbangs and, tear gas launchers and like all this militant gear. They're trying to sell it to the police forces now to keep their profit margin even higher. So
they're giving it to them.
A lot of times, yes. A lot of times they're giving it to them, yes. Yep. But through the Pentagon's 1033 program, but they're also selling quite a bit of it. A lot of these corporations, like 511 Tactical, there's, dozens of them. They also market the police directly. There's a big market for police buying gear that, they can't get through their, municipality, or it's not standard gear. And a lot of that stuff, they buy on their own dime, There's also a lot of corruption with the I think it's the 1033 program. Yeah, the program where the Pentagon gives, MRAP, mine-resistant vehicles and all that other stuff to police that you just mentioned. There's been multiple law enforcement agencies around the country busted for selling that stuff to criminals.
Wow.
Yeah, you Google that, you'll find some interesting articles.
Holy moly. And that's probably all part of the program too, because they have to justify the reason why they have it in the first place. I remember when they put up on the Facebook page of the town that I live in that they were getting a tank, and everyone was like, what? Why? We were supposed to protect us, not attack us like a military force. They're like, oh, well, it is for your protection. And it took a lot of, trying to convince on the part of the police department. It was a real public relations nightmare when they announced that they were getting this tank. So I imagine that, even though they're busted, right? I think that it's a plan in the first place to justify them even having it. See, look, the criminals have it. We gotta have it too. Right? Oh my gosh. Wow.
Well, I'm just really disheartened by the direction that I see the country going in. And you're right about civil rights. I mean, the more time that goes on, the fewer that people seem to express. I mean, my issue is that people don't even understand or try to retain the rights that they do have. And what I mean by try to retain them is, sure, the Constitution is meant to be a list of the rights that exist. Not all of them, because the framers, I believe, my understanding of the Constitution is that the framers understood that there were certain natural laws that weren't exactly listed in, the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. But if you don't flex them, you lose them. And what I mean by that is simply, if it's not part of police culture, that people are going to assert their rights. Police, that we're constantly training law enforcement by our interactions with them as a society. If people just go ahead and let them search without saying, no, I don't consent. If people, when a officer shows up and knocks on your door and say, hey, can I come in? Or, if people more often than not go, oh, sure, officer, I don't have anything to hide. You can come in my house. Instead of being that way, they could say, how about you slip a warrant under the door and we can have this discussion, so we as a society have the opportunity to train our law enforcement when we interact with them, and people, through laziness, through what I would call cultural Stockholm syndrome. I think we live in a police state and people are kind of comforted by it. It's kind of frightening, but I believe that the U.S. has a Stockholm syndrome, very similar to, what happens when bank robbers take a bank, and then there's a few people that have just been traumatized and they start to identify with their captor, and they start to make up excuses for their behavior, and they start to justify, well, maybe He has a point. I kind of understand what he means. And it's because of trauma, you know, the trauma of being dominated, the trauma of being, controlled. It's easier for a person to rationalize away the tyranny than it is for them to, admit that they're a slave. So that's part of it, And you mentioned, how it's happening gradually. This is the new normal now. Millennials are growing up now believing that this is the way that things should be. When I was 12, 13 years old, I couldn't have imagined things being the way they are now. It's frightening. In high school, I read 1984 in school, actually, I think it was junior high. And the teacher was saying this is a, in discussion after reading the book for assignments, the teacher was explaining to us that, this is a totalitarian society. This is what oppression is. This is what happens when a government, becomes oppressive and tyrannizes its people. And now you look around and there's things that were portrayed in that book as being horrible and terrible, and I hope we never go that direction, that it's being surpassed. Things are worse now than in 21st century America than a lot of things that were talked about in that book, and I find that frightening.
I do too. And the whole sort of glorification of it as like, isn't this cool? We can zoom in from a satellite and see, you sitting in your car outside your house, stuff like that. And, it's portrayed as being this sort of cool, glamorous thing, but it's actually very dangerous and frightening for a certain segment of the population to have that kind of power.
Sure.
And reach. And again, I would have to agree about the Stockholm syndrome. Mm-hmm. I think, and your point about trauma, and it's by design. I think that the psychopaths in charge put this into motion, knowing the way that humans react to trauma normally, and that people just want it to go away, and so there's that compliance. The only way to stop the progression of this totalitarian fascist state is non-compliance.
Absolutely.
That's the only way. So, but you have to be willing to suffer the consequences of your non-compliance as well. And that's where we get into, that's where the rubber hits the road, or whatever term you want to use,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And until people can realize that they actually have power. See, that's the biggest illusion, that's the biggest trick that the elite have pulled over our eyes, is the fact that to dishearten people, to make them feel disempowered. I mean, there's a lot of, bless their hearts, I appreciate their intentions, but there's a lot of preppers. There's a lot of militia type people out there. There's a lot of people that are waiting for, the penny to drop, or the line that they've drawn in the sand in their mind, that if the government crosses, they'll start fighting. I bless those people and their intentions, but the problem is that they're hiding in the woods. I'm not saying they're hiding out of fear, but there's a lot of revolutionary things people can be doing that's not, fighting and killing and attacking people. I mean, in my worldview, it's revolutionary to be food dependent. I have maybe 150,000 seeds of various varieties that I save. because I think if things get really bad, I will be able to stash those and trade them for other things I need. I think it's revolutionary to, participate in alternative media because in my worldview, one of the reasons why, Hitler, Stalin, Mussolini, Mao Zedong, was able to, and the regimes that propped them up, because I believe they were all figureheads, but those type regimes have been able to take over and become pervasive in a society is because there was no culture of resistance. So if you have good oratory like Kira, you need to start a podcast. If you're willing to run out there in the streets and risk being hurt and film cops, become a cop watcher. If you're good with help, if you have a green thumb, start a community garden with your neighbors across the street. If you don't like the banking system, there's alternative currencies, there's Bitcoin, there's a bunch of other coins, that people have come up with. There's people that have minted their own silver coins. There's native folks that have, done that. I'm sure you've probably had some of those people on talking about that on your show, like alternative currencies and stuff. There's all kinds of things we can do to take power back. And, the thing with the power of the individual is you don't see the immediate result in a palpable way. So people feel disempowered. But, me knowing that I have at least 150,000 seeds, in boxes, I see that as a little victory because, if things get really bad, I know I can trade those away, but there's not going to be a pat on the back for it. I've decided to change my life patterns in a way that perpetuates resistance to this tyranny. And I've divorced myself from believing that I'm going to have this great impact and I'm going to change the world. And, if we allow ourselves as activists or rabble rousers to get into that attitude, it becomes self-destructive. So I've divorced myself from the idea that I'm going to change the whole world or I'm going to start a big movement. I'm just responsible for my immediate sphere of influence, and if I affect the world in a positive way because of it, then good on me. That's all I'm responsible for. But, I don't know. I'm kind of at a loss for words, so you could probably reel me in a little bit,
Well, I'm going to change myself, That's what I said to myself. That was my revolutionary act, was I'm going to walk away from the medical system that's making me sicker. I'm going to find out how to heal myself, and I'm going to show others the way who are ready to heal too. But I like that you have those seeds, and I'm really into to sharing organic and heirloom seeds. So this year we're growing only heirloom tomatoes.
Nice.
Yeah, and lots of okra. I'm really, really, really into okra. Just have some sort of connection to it. And eating weeds, eating what actually wants to grow where I live and is edible and good for you. Eating weeds is like probably one of the most revolutionary things you could do, is stop using poison on them, stop trying to kill them, and start eating them. There's more weeds out there that you can eat than you could possibly eat. And it really starts to show you how the earth does provide everything that we need. Really.
Well, I think I'm kind of way into, I'm sort of a foodie, and by sort of I mean kind of nerdy into what I like to put in my body.
Yeah.
I think maybe your body is craving trace minerals that you're not getting in these monoculture fruits and vegetables that they sell in the grocery store. So
Absolutely.
that may be it, because the plants do pull up a vast variety of trace minerals that, if you look at many diseases, they are caused from a lack of vitamin B or vitamin K or, iron or any one of the other nutrients. A nutrient, is something that your body has to have or, there's a negative consequence. So I'm guessing that your wheat eating is probably coming from, your body telling you on an intuitive way that you need those trace minerals.
Absolutely. Yeah. So for having celiac disease my whole life and having to diagnose myself because the doctors didn't catch it, I wasn't getting any of my nutrients because my system was all gummed up with gluten. But I didn't present as like the waste away type of celiac. I was in survival mode and like hanging on to everything that I had. And so I was all like swollen and overweight and everything. But I knew I was lacking. I knew I was starving. And I kept telling the doctors that, like, I'm just not getting enough. And so it's this vicious cycle, like you need to eat, but you're not actually getting what you need from your eating. And so now I'm on the other thing. I'm like on this intuitive thing, like you say, like, this is just growing here and I need it. And it feels good. It feels good. It really does.
Yeah. If you listen to your body, it will actually tell you what it needs. Like, literally. Like, if you communicate with self, I mean, it might sound a little hippy-dippy to some people out there, but I talk to myself, and I don't mean like in a third-person sort of way, but like, hey, body, you wake up in the morning, you stretch, you have some water, and you think, what do you need,
Mm-hmm. Greens and fats. That's what my body tells me.
Oh, yeah.
Greens and fats. Good fats.
There's a really good book. I don't remember the author, but because I look at the recipes more often than I actually look at the cover and the inside cover, but it's called Nourish Kitchen. Have you heard of that?
I have. Yes. I
Yeah.
want to check that out. I haven't checked it out. You're like the third person.
Oh yeah, it talks about the fact that fats are really good for you. There's natural fats from animals, and there's lots of recipes. The Chinese are really great at that. Recipes for older folks, like using chicken feet and fat like gristly fat that you get, like a ham hock in your beans, that kind of stuff that you boil down, and it's a really great nutrient, especially when you get like late 30s, 40 years old. You need to start replacing joint material and things like that. But fat is very, very important for your brain development, actually. Yeah.
And if you saute anything in some grass-fed butter, it's delicious. So you could basically just pull some weeds out of your yard, throw it in a pan with some butter, and it's delicious. A little bit of salt.
Sure. Yeah. I like to, grab herbs out of the garden, and just saute them. It's a lot of fun, I love kale too. I like to take kale and chop up, 3 or 4 garlic cloves, toss that in a pan, and I do the grass-fed butter too. Like I'll just throw it in there, and then a tiny bit of, either red or white wine, depending on what my mood is, just like a little dollop, and, basically, saute it until it's almost like a spinach consistency, and just throw that on the side of my meat. That's my idea of a good time. So
I'm growing a lot of kale this year as well.
Oh, nice.
Heirloom kale.
What do you do to keep bugs away? Are you into this isn't cop watching related, but F it, this is a eclectic show, so we could talk about this. But what do you do for bugs? Do you do companion planting stuff to try to offset the?
Yeah, and we've also sort of just had to accept that some of it's going to get eaten.
Yep.
Yep. And then the thing is like the stuff the bugs are eating is like it's good because they're eating it.
Right.
So, but
quality approved. Yes, it's quality control. Yeah.
every once in a while it's pretty disappointing, but for the most part we just try to plant enough to where there be enough for them and us. And I think this year though we are going to get those beetle bags because last year they ate all the cabbage, like every single morsel of it. It wasn't just they ate a little bit of it and then we could have some. They ate it all. So we're definitely going to have to invest in those beetle bags or something to figure that out. Because I would want cabbage.
I have problems with, I have a small backyard, or a patio area now where I have a bunch of herbs, but before we moved to this place, I had a very large backyard garden. But I've learned that slugs that eat a lot of your green leafy stuff, they hate copper. So you can get this rolled up copper tape that has adhesive on one side of it in the gardening stores. You can line your garden boxes with it and they won't walk across it or they won't crawl over it. Yeah. So you can literally make a barrier fence around your green leafy stuff and the slugs won't munch on it because they won't crawl across the copper.
Well, we do well with the leafy stuff because we don't have a lot of slugs here. So. Oh,
really? Wow, they're crazy in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, they are. I remember those banana slugs. My dad lived in Portola Valley.
Yeah.
We had those all the time crawling in the house. Ooh, it's already time for our breaky break. About a few minutes and we'll be back for the second hour.
This is the people's war. It is our war. We are the fighters. Fight it then. Fight it with all that is in us. And may God...
Welcome back to the second hour of The Bridge with Kira. I'm your host, Kira Young, and we're streaming tonight on Revolution Radio and Real Liberty Media. And I'm talking to Mike BlueHair about all kinds of stuff tonight. You back with us, Mike?
Sure, I'm right here. Although I'd like to get back to what I do and my passion. Let's kind of segue it back into my stuff if we could. I mean, I'll talk to you about gardening all day, but like.
Yeah, I think we were talking about slugs, but.
Yeah, we were, yeah.
Vincent, you had put something in the chat. You put the video that Mike did last night in the chat, and then you also pointed out a little something about Hawaii. You put a quote about Hawaii.
That's from Circle Thinks, and also I think she refers that to. I may have closed it. No. Yeah, right here. Still Life. Woodpecker by Tom Robbins. So I guess that's a quote.
I do remember that book.
Yeah, I've not read it. So yes, that read. So also I have, let me see, where are you? Right here, Mike BlueHair on Bamboozer. So bamboozer.com/channel/Mike BlueHair. And
sure.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a good place to go if you want to see my live streams, but it's like lesser quality stuff. If you go to my channel, Mike BlueHair on YouTube, you can see all my high resolution footage. I use the live streaming stuff as a backup, and it's really low quality because it's grainy video, but I'm quite proud of, the camera that I use as my main camera. So if people went over to Mike BlueHair on YouTube, they'd see, actually I uploaded a video called, F you, shoot me, because the police disarmed a guy that had a knife last night that I uploaded just this morning. That's a really good example of what I do when I'm at my best, is provide the community I live in with police accountability, because if that man had been shot last night when we were filming, the public would have been able to scrutinize the officer's actions, and, that's what I really do this for, is to participate in a culture of keeping the police accountable by filming. So yeah, if people went over to my channel, Mike BlueHair, and checked out my most recent upload, they would see basically, Film the Police Portland at our best. I have a group of volunteers that work with me. There's, Robert West of Film the Police 911. There's Jeff Singer. There's Sarah Long. There's Jeffrey Geiger. There's James Peach that works with me as well. There are a lot of really great, passionate people that suffer from the same stubborn-headed unwillingness to comply attitude that I have, and I'm really blessed to have these people working with me. But yeah, to get a good example, if you're on Revolution Radio, if you're stumbling through the internet listening to this, check out the video entitled FU or F asterisk CKU shoot me, and that will give you a clear idea or understanding of what I do and what my activism is about.
Got it shared out there, and your YouTube user account there.
Thank you.
Really, yeah, you bet. And to Freedom Slips, a couple of real great places to be listening at. Mike, let me ask you, when you went up to the Malheur Resource Center.
Yes, sir.
I mean, we're seeing some folks that have been incarcerated. Pete Santilli and Jason Patrick, most importantly, a really great guy. Met those guys out there in Bunkerville a couple of years back. You can say what you will, but when we start looking at media, people being arrested and held without bail, I think it's setting some pretty dangerous precedent. We saw this sort of thing, like in different parts of the world. They round up those that are vocal and then their friends and their family. And I mean, it just, this is what we're looking at, this police state that's very real and very evident right here before us. And so I'm really proud of what you're doing. I'd like to ask you, I'm rounding out tomorrow Voice of Rebellion with Chris J. I'll be stepping away from the mic a little bit. And, having been there in Bunkerville, it's been an important topic. So you made it out there. I did not. I'd have probably been arrested, I guess, with the other folks if I just happened to be sitting in at that place. Yeah. So tell us about your experience, if you would.
Oh, at Malheur?
Yeah.
Sure. I've been acting as an alternative media type person since about 2008. I've been in some sort of alternative media, and I've been to more protests, and I've seen more examples of police militarization than I can count. And the amount of police response I saw in Malheur County was incredible. There was, according to the Harney County information line that they had set up for media to contact and talk to them, they confirmed to me, Harney County did, that they had 28 law enforcement agencies actively working in that area. All the stuff I saw out there, they set up a compound in the Burns Airport that looked like something out of the X-Files, they had at one point 6 mine-resistant MRAP tank-looking things. Those things cost about $1 million each. The night that Santilli was arrested, I was driving around with him and his news crew, and we heard a helicopter, because we went out to the FBI compound, because Santilli had it in his mind that he wanted to try to ask for permission to drive some vans down and remove vans and trucks, I guess, to remove people from the refuse peacefully. He thought that he could get people to just come with him and have him leave, and that went over kind of like a lead balloon. You can see that on my YouTube channel. It's uploaded and unedited. But to get back to the level of militaristic response, I've never seen that many cops. I've never seen that much fear from the government in my life. And what I mean by fear is you can tell when they're fearful because they respond in an overwhelming way. I mean, this is the way that law enforcement thinks. This is a little peek inside the mind of a totalitarian. Okay, what police are being trained to do, and law enforcement, FBI, all of them, what they're being trained to do is to present an overwhelming amount of force, or the possibility to their adversaries that they can marshal an overwhelming amount of force, and the idea that they're being brainwashed into believing, this is the law enforcement I'm talking about, because they're being brainwashed as much as everyone else. They're brainwashed into believing that if they're constantly able to access the perception of more force that they could levy against their quote-unquote enemies, and in this case it was the people occupying the refuge to protest their issues about land use and whatnot, but that the opposing force will back down. And in the short term, I believe they're correct. If you can show up with 50 cops with guns because of two guys with knives fighting or whatever, they're going to back down. But the problem with this is it desensitizes the society as a whole. So that becomes the new normal. All these cops with all this militarized stuff, right? So the net result is in order for them to constantly present that much overwhelming force to their enemy that they're going to try to make back down, they have to raise the bar of what's scary, raise the bar of what's perceived as totalitarian. And frankly, it's a runaway train of a neo-fascist nightmare that it's hard to comprehend the end result of this ratcheting up of force. But I saw that very palpably, or it was very palpable to see from the response of law enforcement. When I went down to the refuge, I went down there and talked to Ryan Bundy. I was going to interview Ammon, but I didn't get a chance to. My plan was just to go down one day and talk to people and, touch base with folks so that I could build some trust with them, and then come back another day and do formal interviews, because I thought if I just walked straight down and stuck a camera in people's faces and asked them a bunch of questions, it might unsettle them. That was my plan. So I went down the first day and barely turned my camera on very much, and then went back to my hotel room. And by the time I was able to get back down, the SHIT already hit the fan, and they, basically Lavoie had already been shot, and my co-conspirator Bob had to go back to Portland that evening, or that earlier that day, so I had no ride around to go and cover things. And I heard all the sheriffs and whatnot and the Oregon State Police riding by the front of the hotel room super fast. They were just blazing by with lights and sirens, and I'm like, oh crap, I better run out there and grab my camera. So I grabbed my gear and ran outside the front of the hotel room, and I'm like, Bob, let's get in the car. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Bob's in Portland, and Santilli was there, loading up his SUV with his, entourage and his, people that work with him. And I was basically standing there going, hey, can I get a ride with you guys? Because, I'm SOL. I'd like to keep covering this. And, I thought I was just going to get left there and not able to cover anything. But at the last minute, Santilli's all, okay, we have this one little seat. You can jump in. I'm like, great. So I went and followed along with him. And the rest is kind of history, because Santilli, had live stream running the whole time I was in the car with him, from the time that I, just a little bit after I got in the car until after his arrest. But if people want to check it out on YouTube, I filmed his arrest. I filmed us going out to the FBI compound. I filmed us stupidly getting myself and Santilli stupidly getting out of the car and walking towards the light-alls and the FBI's checkpoints. Something's wrong with my brain when I look back at what I do, because I can shut off the fear part. I'm like, oh yeah, I think that, FBI just shot somebody. How about, me and this, right-wing guy I hardly know, walks into an FBI compound in the middle of the night. Oh, sure. Why not? Yeah, I do some stupid stuff sometimes, but yeah, the rest is history. It's all been live streamed and there's videos of it.
The, latest news about the Santilli situation indicates that all their, the private messages between Santilli and his girlfriend, are being used basically against him.
In court?
In court, yeah.
That's horrible. I don't know if Deb Jordan's his girlfriend. I never asked.
Yeah.
But,
I don't know.
She's his producer or whatever, and she's a nice lady. I talked to her. She's a native lady, like you, Kira. In fact, right after Santilli was arrested, one of the things that I found most distasteful about the whole experience at Malheur was one of the officers actually aimed an AR-15 at Deb Jordan's chest. And I'm like, I'm sure you've seen the video, Kira. It's of the video of Santilli's arrest, the longer version.
Yeah.
But he aims the rifle right at Deb Jordan, and I'm like, sir, don't aim guns at people. He's all, I'm not aiming a gun at anyone. Like, as he's aiming a rifle point blank range at an unarmed woman right in front of me, it's like, really? Like, pissed off, beyond pissed off. Like, when you see someone do that, you're like, really? So I'm blind now? You're like 5 feet away from me aiming a rifle at someone,
Yeah.
I mean, my God, like, the way that, I mean, what? Just,
Pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so glad that I had a camera that I had to hold with both hands, because I might have just lost it. And I'm glad that I'm able to keep, my cool in situations like that, cause I'm kind of a reactor. I mean, if it was aimed at me, I don't know, I'd probably be in prison right now.
Yeah. I mean, that's scary. And then there's more trauma,
Yeah. I'm sure Deb was really shaken up by that. I talked to her a couple days later, and she was shaking. She was very frightened, as well she should have been. They murdered Lavoy Finicum. I don't have Finicum's politics. I do appreciate the Constitution, and I do understand that it is one of the greatest legal documents that's ever been, conceived of. But I'm definitely not sort of right wing. I'm, an anarchist. But I don't have to have Lavoy's politics to realize and to be objective and to understand that he was murdered. Yeah. Anybody who has more than a room temperature IQ that objectively looks at the evidence, that's an American citizen. That's a human being that government murdered, like, on its face. I mean, it's just very easy for you to connect the dots. You don't have to be a conspiracy theorist. You just have to look at Shauna Cox's cell phone video where Lavoy gets out in less than a full second goes by, and Lavoy's putting his hands up out of the car, and the first bullet goes through the roof and through the window. They're shooting at him before he even fully stands up out of the car. That's murder. That's not, he reached for a gun. That's murder.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think about it all the time. Why? Why was such a massive example made of these folks that went out there?
I believe I understand why.
Okay. Go for it.
My feeling is this. The government backed down when the first Bundy Ranch happened. They gave that family back a little bit of sanity by not harassing them anymore. Because according to common law, in the way our laws are set up, if you own the property before a state, was conceived, before the government incorporated around it, it's yours, it's your family's by default. According to my understanding of common law and property law. Therefore, all that land before the BLM was even created belonged to the Bundys.
Mm-hmm.
So, I believe. What's up? Excuse me?
That's not fully correct. It was supposed to be managed, and it changed hands as far as who the managing agencies were. But these are for the people of America, for use, for surface use, for water use, for grazing rights, for mineral rights. There's many uses.
Are you talking about the BLM now, or are you talking about the common law ownership beforehand?
Talking about as opposed to how the BLM has turned its position as being the manager for those of use into the owner of the land.
Yeah, they claim that, right? Yeah.
KnightHawk wants to come in with some more stuff that's going on right now. Go
Well,
ahead.
yeah, as I was saying, LaVoy was a friend of mine. We were there. We were there the whole time. I had reporters on the scene the whole time. If you go to our YouTube channel, we have 2 now. You can see as we went through this whole thing, and it's really stirring up again. Nobody's allowed to sit at LaVoy's memorial site. In fact, somebody got arrested the other day, and FBI is coming back in there, so it's getting heated up again. There's been nothing used, anything less than complete and total intimidation for anybody that wants to stand up against our government, unless you want to go burn down and loot in the inner cities, in which nobody cares about. So, it's very stressful, for us out here trying to make some kind of change. It's really, I don't care who you are, what shape you are, what your color you are, or anything. It's just become very disconcerting about freedom in any sort whatsoever when intimidation is being used at the level that it is. Because we still got everybody that was arrested in the Nevada thing is still in jail, and most of the people that were arrested in Oregon are still in jail. They've turned some of these people loose. But, it gets a little more scary every day. I'm really busy on my farm. I have a pretty big farm, and I'm a little bit out of the loop. I'm not completely out of the loop, but I'm a little bit out of the loop, and I'm not doing a live stream anymore because, John B. Wells shut down my live stream, over a, discussion with all the Bundy wives. And so it completely hampered me from being able to do anything about reporting on this. But, quite honestly, in the end, it is so important that we keep reporting on this, because the last of the freedom that we have and the last people that are doing anything to bring us some kind of stand up, when I was a kid, there was this poster I had in my room. It was like this, a mouse giving a vulture, an eagle or a hawk or something a finger. It's like, if we don't fight, we will lose. If you don't fight, we will lose. And if we just continue to be, I don't even want to say the words and stuff on the air, but if we just continue to just let it happen, it will all be taken away from us. That's all I got. It's never all I got to say, but that's what I got to say in that breath.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
I've got all videos from Bunkerville on my YouTube channel. It shows the real people out there, and it's an honesty of heart. When they keep driving people, they scare them away, they demonize people, Al-Qaeda and stuff. I thought that was kind of funny. Hillbilly myself, but it's a dangerous time that we're living in, and that's the importance of being able to speak up while we can.
Yeah, and and we're back to non-compliance, and what Mike is doing to document what's going on, and what all we're doing to document what's going on.
Well, I talked to Deb through this whole thing after that, and I see Mike BlueHair's on. I've tried to send you messages, Mike, and I know you're probably inundated. But please look for me now and again, because we got some stuff getting ready to go on again.
Okay. How about this? Are you on Facebook? I think you are, yeah?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, but the best way because I'm sure you get inundated and I get inundated, just go to our website and use my email address. It's on there in the contact.
Every morning when I wake up, there's 99 plus messages in my Facebook. I really, honestly don't have the time to check them all. and I'm not saying I'm some internet celebrity. I'm just vocal.
I understand what you're saying. I had 2004 emails yesterday.
Or
Just it's like I can't answer these. Delete.
Yeah. How about if just do this? Just send me a personal message through Facebook during the broadcast or after, and I'll just send you back my cell number, and we can chat on the phone. Okay?
All right. Cool. Sounds good.
Yeah.
I'll go over and do that right now. I'll
do that, man. I wanted to say one quick thing about, I love hearing what you guys have to say, but my train of thought was interrupted when I was saying why I think the government responded to the Malheur Occupation so in such a overwhelmingly heavy-handed way. I think two reasons. I think Santilli was probably totally political. They're trying to frighten and cause a chilling effect on alternative media, and it's not gonna work in their favor. They will shut me up when I'm dead. And then, actually no, they can't shut me up after I'm dead because I'm up to 1,300 videos online so far. So they just can't shut me up. Okay, and I'm just one voice of thousands, The cat's out of the bag. We have the internet. We have all these communication technologies that allow us to network. There is resistance to this tyranny, and it's not going to stop. Our momentum is growing, and they're frightened of that. So it's a desperate, in my humble opinion, it's a desperate death throw of this empire to try and suppress free speech. It never works out. You look at history. When all they're going to do is create martyrs. And then martyrs will inspire more people to continue resisting this tyranny. So that's basically one thing they're doing. And also, we have this agenda for the 21st century, Agenda 21, which has to do with, the Wildlands Project and the government taking the rights of private property from families, from ranchers, from farmers, from homesteaders. They want to micromanage all that property, and the only way they can do that is to force people off their land and force them in the cities. And there's plenty of stuff to be read about Agenda 21 online. People can educate themselves about that. But the Bundy folks, people that advocate for loggers, miners, homesteaders, ranchers to have their property rights, is in direct opposition to that agenda to control and dominate all the land use, and the government just can't stand that. They want to take over all the rural lands and force us into these cities. And the Bundy folks and all the three percenters, the Patriot movement, all these people are standing up for property rights. So they're trying to make examples of them. But I don't see as the government, it's not going to work out in their favor. All that does is make martyrs. All it does is piss people off. All it does is make people that do what I do and all the other alternative media voices and all the people that actually get out there in the streets and all the militias and all the anarchist groups, all it does is make us more angry and it strengthens our resolve. I don't see how the government thinks it's going to win here, because it's not. In my worldview, they're losing and they will continue to lose. That's all I really have to say is I really believe in my heart of hearts that the for lack of a better term, the New World Order will lose, because there are way many more of us by magnitudes of millions to one than there are of them.
Yeah. And it really, it's really disturbing that we have this segment of the population that's okay with it. And these are the people who, for me, what I found disturbing was people who are usually, quite reasonable people and, want people to be free, want people, good things for people, being, jumping on this bandwagon to demonize these folks. That's what I found most disturbing about it, was how easily manipulated people were into jumping on this bandwagon and saying, yeah, these folks are evil for going there. And, yeah. So if reasonable people can be, whipped up so easily, we're kind of up against something, you know, we really are.
It's an uphill struggle, but I'm kind of in it for the fight. I enjoy righteous struggle against tyranny. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I get out of the bed in the morning. It's one of the reasons why my ankles are swollen right now. You know, I love it. I am so happy to be alive in this time of great turmoil, this time of struggle. Like, I wouldn't want to live in any other time.
Oh, I wouldn't either. Yeah, this is where the human spirit is going to be is going to win. Like I'm with you on this. I think the human spirit's going to win out. I really do, and I have to keep that at the forefront of my worldview, is that powerful human spirit. And I still think too that that rift between natives and this group of people was meant to be there too. Because imagine if natives got together with folks like this, what would be created. I think that you know, I certainly understand why natives were not happy. The natives of that area in Oregon were like, you know, we've basically the attitude was like, we've been through enough. You know, our kids can't go to school. You guys are causing problems. You know, we just want this, you know, to go away because we've already been through so much. So I understand that. But I also see that the rift was pretty manufactured. You know, if people were allowed to kind of get together and talk, and I don't think that the group of people that went there would have been so easily demonized by the mainstream media primarily.
Agreed. And a lot of people didn't have the understanding that the Malheur Wildlife Refuge was like 31 miles outside of town. So the schools closing in Burns, it was ridiculous, really, if one would think about it logically. You know, why do you need to close a school down? Because there's some people, you know, squatting as protesters in a bird refuge 30 miles away. You know, it's
silly.
I thought it was silly. Yeah, it was. I understand the Burns Paiute people's anger that they weren't talked to beforehand. I remember when we were talking about this before on your show here a long time ago, and I brought up the Alcatraz occupation that lasted more than a year, and that was what happens when Native and white folks seize a property for the purpose of a protest. And that was amazing. That's an amazing part of American protest history. It's an amazing part of the Red Power movement. You know.
Yeah, it's like when it was pure. And so maybe something could be learned from this, that you know, we have to get together before and plan things out together, instead of it sort of, you know, the natives being kind of an afterthought, which was how it came across. And certainly I wasn't there, so, you know, I don't know the timing of things, but I think it was, you know, it wasn't before they went in.
I had the opportunity to speak with some of the Burns Paiute tribe people when the FBI had their press conference, when they showed the first grainy video of Finnecum's murder. And I was told that they weren't talked to ahead of time. You know, they were contacted by the Bundy folks after the occupation happened. That's what they told me. And I think if they were brought into it, they may have very well have been out there with him, if they would have talked to the tribe ahead of time and say, hey, we want your involvement. We want, to advocate for your property rights as well,
That's what happened when they discovered all the artifacts that were just left in filthy conditions. There was rat feces and nests and
now,
kinds of.
You know what? Okay, listen. I don't want to interrupt, but we were there, and the Paiute had no interest in coming to get their artifacts whatsoever. We were there. We videoed this. We showed all this, and they had no interest in it. Actually, they were working more with the county, Grasty and all those people, and had no interest in that. The artifacts was not of any kind of interest to them whatsoever. So, we've seen people, not the Paiutes. It's actually other people trying to use that as an ignition point to create trouble. But the Paiutes were not interested. They didn't even care about the artifacts because I went to great effect. In fact, I sent, I tried to send another Native American to the site at my expense to deliver their stuff back to them, and they had no interest whatsoever. So that was just an absolutely useless political bunch of bull crap there. And when you guys were talking about Lavoie and all that stuff, I told everybody that this was going down. I tracked the airplanes coming in. I sent somebody out to the airport when all the people got off when all the guys the FBI, SWAT-like guys got off the plane. We tracked that. And the truck full of, snowmobiles that went out to the site. And of course, anybody that went out there, I sent Sherry out there a couple of days later. There was snowmobile tracks everywhere. And, I told everybody something was going down. Nobody would pay attention. So, it's like, things go down. Things happen. And if you don't pay attention, they will.
Mike, how was you trying to tell them to come out the day before and to relocate to a ranch property or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was telling everybody, get the hell out of there. And, and I talked to Lavoie the day before they went up. They were going to go up because I already knew they were headed up there, to the next county. And I said, you probably shouldn't go up there because of what I was talking about. Just everybody got brave. They thought it was America. Quite honestly, everybody got brave. They thought it was America, that they wouldn't wander into some kind of death trap or something like that. And they did. Anybody that paid any attention to what I was doing through that entire 2 months knows I was breaking my balls, excuse my language, and spending a lot of my own money, my own personal money. I never got paid for this. My own personal money to try to help get this done. And, people thought I was up to something. I don't know what the issue was, but, a lot of this went down and a lot of bad things happened because people got brave and stupid and did not pay attention to the people who are actually looking at all these things. It's like I'm looking at airplanes, I'm looking at people landing in airports, I'm looking at snowmobile trucks, and I'm looking at SWAT-like people getting off the airplanes, and everybody's like, oh, they must be doing something else. Well, we saw what exactly happened with Lavoie and the rest of them. So that's all I can say.
Yeah. God. So how did it get changed? I mean, like I saw stories in the mainstream media about that it was the people who occupied the place that fouled up all the artifacts and things like that. How did that get into the news when that's not what happened?
Because the corporate media lies. It's a common anarchist.
Mainstream media.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Like, all you have to do is look at the live stream stuff, look at the videos that was released by the occupiers out there. They clearly showed Lavoie and the other guys looking through the artifacts, with the dust on them, with the rat feces and all the damage. The one of the parts that creeped me out is, when they showed the rat feces and all the drawers and stuff where the paperwork, if you would go out there and, get a permit to do something or do any kind of official, business with the, refuge, they were giving you paper with, rat feces dust on it. It's disgusting.
Ugh.
Like.
Well, you know what? Rat shit isn't gonna hurt a rock.
No, but it's gonna, if it's on porous paper in their paperwork and they give it to you, because of something you bought from them or whatever, that will make it.
I think my point is that the Paiute didn't even care about the artifacts, so why is that being used as a political pivot?
Well, I can explain it to you. You have to understand the liberal mind a little bit. I'm sure
I understand it, but I said that so you can explain.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, this is for the audience. Okay. So, there are certain things that are held up as almost religious sacraments, the rights of immigrants, Native folks, a woman's right to choose. They're all hot button issues that appeal to emotionality. Liberals are manipulated with, by corporate media, by the appeal to the emotion of these issues. So a Native issue and the Malheur occupiers having some sort of a riff with Native folks is something that they focused on so as to foment that liberal ire and hate. I live in Portland, Oregon. The majority of the people here that strive to be awake, bless them, they're of the left wing, ilk. And a lot of these people are just as blind as the extreme right, in my humble opinion. I don't subscribe to either. I think that, the government's screwing us all, so why should we fight each other? But that's another conversation. But, the liberal mind is very manipulated by corporate media because of issues, especially issues about Native folks or immigrants. So of course they were going to use that as a way to try to, demonize the folks that were occupying the Malheur refuge.
Yeah, and I think there's something more behind the fact that the Paiute wouldn't come and get that stuff. There's a lot more to that we don't know about.
Seems political. I mean, I would not be surprised if the Paiute end up getting some parcel of land or something from the BLM for towing the party line, I would not be surprised if that happens in the future, although I can't speculate because I don't know for sure, but I would not be shocked if that happens.
Yeah, and there could be some other things as well. We don't know what narrative was going on internally with regard to that stuff.
I would they probably, got some folks that they could easily manipulate to stand up there. If there had been an outrage, it should have been an outrage of desecration on their artifacts by the disrespect in the storage. I guess you guys probably met Tom out there, Thomas Robert Lockavar Stewart. He's going to be a guest on my farewell tomorrow night with Chris on Voice of Rebellion on UCY.TV at 8 Central Time. And we're going to talk about this too. You all would certainly be welcome to add on along if you'd like to join the conversation. I know Chris would really enjoy having y'all join in.
Thanks, Vince. I don't want to speculate too much about it, but I can definitely say for sure that the narrative that was going on inside, we have no idea what that was, and it very well could have been a political thing. But wow, it was forced, definitely forced wedge there, no question about it, and And, Mike, your insight to the liberal mind and how it's manipulated there is points well taken. I've certainly, for myself, very much leaned left. So I've had to look at this kind of stuff myself and how I've gotten manipulated because of my own leanings. And certainly we all do. So I do piss people off by giving people a voice, and I don't care what your leaning is. I want to know why you think what you think and what you think, and I want to find that common ground. That's why this is called the bridge. I want to find the common ground to where we can work together to, because we are under attack. We're under attack in many, many different ways. And whatever way has affected you the most, that's where you're going to start to dig yourself out, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'll work with anyone. I'll cover a, protest event that's being put on by 3%er, right-wing folks. I'll go and, film and make sure that Black Lives Matter folks have police accountability. I don't care about any of the right-left stuff. I care about the police state and the government and how it's oppressing all of us. So, and I have to, there's something called confirmation bias. We all have an opinion of the world, and it's really hard. It's a natural inclination of us as humans to try to, seek evidence that justifies our worldview. But the trick is to find commonality with each other. I totally agree with you, Kira. And I have people I consider friends and family on all aspects of the political spectrum. I mean, in fact, a lot of them hate each other. But I tell them, if they drag me into something in Facebook, it's like, I'm not going to take sides. I love you both. You're just going to have to work that out amongst yourselves,
Yep. I do too. I definitely do. I don't like having neo-Nazis though on my page.
No,
that's
not
definitely, that's definitely a group I can't relate to and I don't want to relate to.
I have a hard time dealing with those people as well. Like,
yeah.
There's some worldviews that I just, I don't want to associate with, and that's my personal preference. But like, I try to keep an open-minded approach to everything. But yeah, some things I can't, deal with.
Yeah. I certainly want to know why they think the way they think and
Sure.
figure that out. But I don't want their juice all over me. Their neo-Nazi juice.
Right.
Splash me.
I was growing a mustache out and I was trying to trim it. And it got a little shorter and shorter on each side, so I don't know.
Oh my God, do you guys realize there's an actual Nazi in a prominent position in Portland Police Bureau's power structure where I live?
Oh, I didn't realize that. Is that one of the people that was outed by the anonymous group?
No, check this out.
Okay.
The police captain in Portland, Oregon, that's in charge of our drugs and vice is named Mark Kruger. If you type, please audience, check this out. Type Mark Kruger Nazi cop into Google and or Google Images, and you can see pictures of Mark wearing German World War II era uniforms. He was outed in corporate media for putting up placards in a park for four fallen Nazi soldiers in World War II. He's like a black swan to appear in public because he gets so much heckling. He was supposed to appear in a CRC hearing just a few days back, and we had baked him a bunch of bacon swastikas that we were going to present to him. And we had a sign that we drew because we had big tins and we had a big stack of bacon swastikas that we were going to give him.
Were they delicious or what?
we ate them afterwards. He checked out. He didn't show up at the meeting, but he was supposed to. But he gets viciously heckled everywhere he goes. And we had a little sign, a little placard that we built that says, free bacon, and it had a dead cop on it. Like a dead it was a pig in a cop's uniform, and it was dead. But he gets heckled quite a bit by those of us who actually care. But he's a literal Nazi. You can. If you look at my video on my YouTube channel that's entitled, Portland Cop Deserves Discipline, one of the guys I work with as a cop watcher, Robert West, had, his camera grabbed and broken, and there's been public hearings about it. But, Kruger is the immediate supervisor of the vice cop that attacked Bob and broke his camera. So he appeared at that,
Yeah, we got cut off. That happens a lot in alternative media. And for me, because I live on the other side of the digital divide in the woods, I have to drive into town and hook my laptop up to an iPhone to broadcast. So I really make an effort to have my voice heard, and I make an effort to provide an opportunity for other people to have their voice heard too. And along the way, I get to learn about other people's perspectives, and I get to learn about myself and expand my own understanding of things. So it's really worth it for me, and I appreciate the folks who listen and get in the chat and participate. And this last year has really been a wild ride. It started with this goal of mine to obtain food sovereignty in my lifetime. And this goal was born out of my own pain and suffering with autoimmune disease, which was caused by eating poison food supply. But once this goal was born and this Yellow Thunder Food Sovereignty Project was born, that we're going to try to figure out how to obtain our own food sovereignty, and in the process, we're going to fight hunger and food insecurity, for ourselves and the folks around us. That's the very heart and simplicity of what Yellow Thunder Food Sovereignty means. And we had some pretty grand plans of becoming a nonprofit and all kinds of stuff, but none of that was possible because we didn't get enough support. And the whole nonprofit world has really, really changed over the past, I would say, 15 years, dramatically. So, we really got bullied by the psychopaths in charge of the alternative media. How dare us take on such an ambitious project or so. I don't know what it's all about, but people who pretended to be my friends were conducting a covert smear campaign. They were constantly complaining about us on Facebook, so we got bullied off of Facebook. And we lost our donors because they were told that we were mismanaging funds by a woman who pretended to be my friend, but really just was gathering intel the whole time. But she managed to convince some people of pretty outrageous things. So that was a setback. And then we got a bunch of babies started in the hoop house. And then April got super hot really quick. It was like April and May switch places. April had May's weather and May has now had April's weather. So the babies burned up and we had to start over. And so we got a $50 donation and we used that to get more seeds and start over. But we haven't got enough donations to get straw bales, so I went out and I looked at the straw bales from last year, and I was able to get some tomatoes in some of the ones from last year, and I was able to get some cucumbers into some of the ones from last year. As soon as I was done doing that this morning, planting that, it started raining, so felt like a good thing. So, yeah, we just keep on keeping on. It looks like, since we really can't do the nonprofit right now, that we're gonna just do a little like farmers market type business to support our food sovereignty efforts. It's like you really can't make a profit off of farming, but if you obtain food sovereignty, you don't really need a profit, because all our, a big portion of our money that I make as a secretary, it goes towards our food. So if we can just grow our own food, then we'll have all that money just to invest in other ways. And which is not a lot, but we make it work. We just make it work. Got dropped off the call, but
Welcome back.
thanks. I'm still trying to add Revolution Radio back in, but it's not happening.
Not on air again, huh?
No.
We're going to run out here in a couple of minutes. Anyways,
Yep.
We're going to run into Jumper, so I guess it'll be a pretty wrap.
So, for those of us who can still hear us on Real Liberty Media, we'll be replaying the show. I'm going to edit it up, and we'll replay it on Tuesday night on People's Internet Radio. So that'll be fun.
I've really enjoyed the retro, girl. I'll be back when I come back. I'll be coming to work again with such great people like you. You've been so wonderful. I've met the most incredible people you have brought to air. So thank you, Kira.
Thank you, Vince. It's been wonderful you riding shotgun with me.
Right on.
And thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Oh, you're quite welcome. I love being on the show.
All right. We got an echo.
This is fun.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Dancing on